Hey y'all, this is review day 2. So we're going to be going through a quick warm up and then getting back to our review sheet and catch up work. We're going to be focusing on the things we did at the end with the solving algebraically, which is substitution and elimination. So without further ado, let me get my ugly mug on. Bye. And let's start here. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to try these two problems using elimination. Okay, now remember with elimination, this is the one we are worried about opposites. So the first thing that we check with my x's here, they don't add up to 0. With my y's, they do not add up to 0. Okay, so I have to make opposites. So our general rule, top by the bottom, change my color here. Top by the bottom, so the top by is times 5, bottom by opposite of the top. So the top number is -7, so I'm going to use +7. Okay, so I'm going to multiply all three of those by 5. So it's going to be -35x. It's also going to be +20y. And -21 times 5 is -105. Oops, forgot my equal sign. There we go. Multiplying everything on the bottom by 7. So 5x times 7 is 35x. For y times 7 is +28y. And 15 times 7 is 105. So I add my equations together. And when I add these together, notice I do get opposites here with my x's. So those add up to 0. 20y plus 28y is 48y. Is 48y. -105 plus 105 is 0. Okay, don't freak out when that happens. Keep going. Divide by 48, and 0 divided by 48 is 0. So got 0 for my y. Don't forget to plug it back in. It's your choice which equation to use. I'm just going to go ahead and use the top one. And since this is my answer for y, I'm putting the 0 right there. So I have -7x plus 4 times 0 equals -21. Well, 4 times 0 is 0. So I end up with -7x equals -21. Divide by -7, and x equals 3. So my first one, I have 3, 0. Okay. Now, this second one, I'm going to need to create some space here. Do it. For the second one, same deal happens. These don't add up to 0. These do not add up to 0. So I got to make opposites. So top by the bottom. So I'm going to multiply the top equation. I'm going to do it on this side times -7. Bottom by opposite of the top. So I'm going to multiply this one by 6. And I'm going to have to write them below here. So the top, everything times -7. That gives me +42x, +70y, and +42. Excuse me, I have one mistake there. -7 times 10y, that is -70y. Excuse me there. Okay, now everything on the bottom times 6. Be very careful. I mean, you can see right there, I wasn't taking my time and I missed one of the negatives. Okay, so be careful. 6 times -7x is -42x. 6 times 9y is +54y. And 6 times 1 is 6. Since I have my opposites, I can add my equations together. That's 0. That would be -16y. And that would be 48. Divide both sides by -16. And I get y is -3. So I have my first answer. Now again, remember we're going to plug this back in. Well, my y is -3, so that's going to go right there. So I have -6x plus 10 times -3 equals -6. Well, 10 times -3 is negative 30. Then I'm going to solve this equation. Add 30 to both sides. I get negative 6x equals 24. Finish him. I get negative 4. So I have x answer and the y answer. Negative 4, negative 3. Okay, let's go ahead and pause your video and complete these two problems. These are substitution. Okay, for this first one, they are both solved. So when they're both solved, consider that my solved one. And it says y equals, so I'm putting that in right there. And really, I'm going to put these two things equal to each other. So it's negative 6x minus 13 equals negative 4x minus 7. We're going to solve this. So let's add 4x to both sides. 0. Let's add 13 to both sides. That's 0. And we're going to add these up. So I get negative 2x equals 6. Finish him. And I get negative 3. Well, plug it back in. So I can choose, they're both solved. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose that top one there. Okay, so we have negative 6 times negative 3 minus 13. So it'd be 18 minus 13, and y is 5. So x is negative 3, y is 5. Okay, for the second one, now be very careful with this one because it's just the bottom one that's solved here. So the bottom one's solved. It's y equals, so that's where I'm putting the y. And since it's in the middle, remember we have to put a parenthesis there. So when I write that top equation, I would have negative 6x minus 4 minus 4. And then we have our parentheses where that y is equals 16. And inside the parentheses is where we put the negative 3x minus 1. So where we put this. And that gives me my equation to solve. So distribute, and this is where most mistakes happen. Negative times a negative, that is positive 12x. Negative times a negative, that is positive 28. Add your x's together. I get 6x plus 28 equals 16. Minus 28 on both sides. I get 6x equals 12. Divided by 6, and x equals 2. Now, when I plug this back in, I want to make sure I use the solved one. Remember, it technically doesn't matter as long as you put it in for an x, but the solved one's going to be the easier one to deal with. So I would have y equals negative 3 times 2 minus 1. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. So I'd have 2 and negative 7. And let me just quickly double check here. Yep, that would work. All right. The last set is these critical thinking ones here. So I want to give you, want you to pause this, and I want you to try to figure out the numbers. Remember, this means multiplies to be 28, adds to be 16. You're looking for two numbers. Multiplies to be 56, adds to be 15. Okay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see if you can figure these out. All right, for this first one, remember, if you can't think of it, you start with 1 in the number. 1 times 28 is 28. Adds to be 29, not it. 2 times 14 is 28, and I found it. Okay, so my two numbers for this first one are 2 and 14. Okay, number 6 here, we'd start off with 1 times 56. Well, that adds up to 57, so that's not it. Next number is 2. See, 56 divided by 2 is 28. If I add those, I get 30, so that's not it. 56 divided by 3 does not work. 56 divided by 4 is 14. And if I add those, I'm getting closer, but that adds up to be 18. So that's not it. Can't divide it by 5. Can't divide it by 6. Dividing by 7 is 7 and 8. And haha, took us a little while, but we found it. The numbers are 7 and 8. Right? Multiplies to be 80, adds to be 21. Now, you might be able to think of it on your own. If you can't, start with one of the number. 1 times 80 is 80, adds up to 81. 2 times 40 is 80, that adds up to be 42. 3 doesn't work. 4 times 20 is 80, but that adds up to be 24. And 5 times 16, and looky there, 5 plus 16 is 21. So my two numbers there are 5 and 16. That one was a little tricky to figure out. The last one, we really got to think outside the box here. Okay, so we got to remember that I can do, to get an 8, I can go positive times a positive. I can also go negative times a negative. Okay, and that's how I'm going to be able to create this negative 6. So if that doesn't work, that adds up to be negative 9. 2 times 4 is 8. I want to make it negative times a negative. And look at there, negative 4 plus, or sorry, negative 2 plus negative 4, that is negative 6. So it's two negative numbers, negative 2 and negative 4. Okay. Now, what I need y'all to do is we're going to be working on the review sheet. It is the one from yesterday. Okay. Then make sure you're catching up on any old work, especially quizzes that you have not taken yet. And then last but not least, some of you are all caught up with everything. If that's the case, I did assign an extra credit assignment on Alex. So you'd be able to go ahead and do that. So let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to email me. And hopefully y'all have a wonderful day. Remember, chapter exam will be coming tomorrow. Dun, dun, dun.